Afield is presented by Gusto Hunting Preserve.
Welcome to Afield, a soul-grown podcast where we're leaving behind their traditional studio and heading into the heart of Alabama's great outdoors. I'm your host, Christiana Roussel. Join me for meaningful and adventurous conversations with artists, chefs, hunters, and more who all have a shared passion for conservation and shaping the life we live outdoors in the South. Hi, welcome to Afield. I'm your host, Christiana Roussel, and today we're joined by Commissioner Chris Blankenship, who is the Commissioner of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the state of Alabama. Did I get that right?
You got that right. Thank you. I'm so glad to be with you today.
I'm so glad you're here. So I want to talk a little bit first, before we get to your background and your history, where we're filming today, and this is pretty exciting.
It is. So we're at Wind Creek State Park in the new 3-bedroom, 3-bath cottages that are right here on the lake, and we built 5 of these, and we're hoping to do a ribbon cutting today and get these open to the public so that they can start seeing how beautiful these are and stay here.
It's going to be amazing. So I've been coming down to Lake Martin for years, and I had no idea. I had not been to this part of the park before, this part of the lake, and this is really stunning. So what a feather in the cap of your department and what you were able to do for the state.
Well, thank you. You know, we've had a lot of requests for something like this at Wind Creek. We have a beautiful campground, and we had some small, like fisherman cabins that people could rent. And so the demand for something like this at the park has been, we heard that from the people here in Elmore County and Tallapoosa County, you know, from the commission and the economic development folks. And so we were glad to be able to build these, and hopefully these will be successful and we can add some more in the future.
That'd be awesome. Well, okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about your past. I think you and I first met in maybe 2011, possibly down in Mobile. It was at an oyster event. So, and I've loved following your career trajectory. And then when you and I were talking, I know you majored in political science, and you'd thought about a career in the federal government. And you said you started with physics first.
I did. So I was a physics major, grew up on Dauphin Island, Alabama, went to the University of South Alabama, and was a physics major for about 2.5 years, but that was really hard. And then also, I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. Every job was like that I saw in the future was inside, either in a lab or teaching, and I wanted to work outside. That's all I wanted to do.
And growing up on Dauphin Island, you spent a lot of time outside, and so who wants to spend your adulthood being on the inside when you can be out doing what you're doing?
That's right. And so I got to looking at that, and I was like, that's not where I want to be or what I want to do. And so I changed my major to criminal justice political science, and graduated in '92. And when I graduated, I hoped to get a job as a federal agent with the FBI or the Secret Service or, you know, one of those agencies. And but they were all in a hiring freeze back then.
Right.
That was during the Clinton administration, and they were not hiring. And so ended up working for a law firm for a couple of years, and then I got hired as a conservation officer with the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and stationed on Dauphin Island, and which was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. That I didn't get what I wanted. I got something way better.
I love it when that kind of synchronicity works in our lives, for sure. So the other title for that job that you first had, when you and I were talking, and I said, is that the same thing as a game warden? And you said, yes, it's not called a game warden anymore. It is called. So
most everybody in the public knows them as game wardens.
Right.
But that's what I did. I started there on the marine side, so working out of Dauphin Island, Gulf Shores, you know, down in Mobile Bay in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, and you know, enforcing the laws and making sure that, you know, on the commercial fishing side and the recreational fishing side, that people abided by the limits, and we protected that resource, and then had opportunity through that to move up and be promoted in different ranks, and became the director of the Marine Resources Division down the coast during 2010, actually during the oil spill, and then moved up as deputy commissioner with the department in Montgomery in 2017, and then Governor Ivey appointed me as commissioner in August of 2017. So it's really been 8 years that I've been the commissioner of the department.
That's amazing. And so it's almost been a 30-year history, work history in giving back to as a public servant.
And it has gone very quickly. I was talking to somebody about that recently. You know, 30 years has gone like that.
Isn't it amazing?
It is.
Yeah, but when you do what you love and you get to be outside, it's pretty awesome.
And that's right. And I kind of joke about that. I went to work in this field so I could work outside.
Right.
But then you do a good job and you keep getting promoted till they promote you into an office where you don't. you have to be inside at a desk all the
Right.
time, which is the whole reason that you went into this, was not to have to do that. But as I've gotten older, that's probably better. I can't bounce around in the boat like I used to could and do all those things. And so, but I still get a chance to get out in the field.
Hopefully you have an office that has a window.
I have a nice view of the Capitol, but it's nice to get out and just like this, to come to our parks and come out to our wildlife management areas and some of our state lakes and get to see our staff and all the beautiful facilities that we have in the department.
It's pretty amazing. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit too about, as commissioner, you serve as the chairman of the Forever Wild Land Trust. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So that's probably, of all the things I get to do as commissioner, that's one of the things that I think have the longest lasting impacts, is we're buying property that belong to the people of the state of Alabama forever. And it's really a great program. It takes, the beauty of the program is it takes some of the interest from the offshore oil and gas revenues that come into the state and puts $15 million a year of that into a fund to buy property for the people. So it's taking a depleting resource, oil and gas, and putting it into something that will last forever, which is purchasing the land for the people. And so we've got about 300,000 acres in the Forever Wild program around the state. A lot of those really in like 37 different counties in the state, a little over 200 properties. And we're continuing to add to that every year. And I really, really enjoy that.
That's pretty amazing. So I think there are, what did you say, 67 Alabama counties, and 37 to 38 of those counties do have Forever Wild Land Trust properties in them. And those properties provide public access.
So of all those 300,000 acres, about 99% of the 300,000 acres allows public access. Between 95 and 97% allow for public hunting on those lands. There's some areas that have particular endangered species or that have been acquired for ecological benefits. And so
I wanted you to tell us about that.
So we don't let the public necessarily on those that disturb those habitats, but the way we do that is we build trails and things that kind of go around those areas. So the public most of the time doesn't know that it's an area that's really off limits to the public. That's right. They don't even know. We don't put fences around it or something like that. We just route the access so that people don't get to those areas. And so it really,
like in Monroe County, what do you have there that you protect?
So Monroe County has the Red Hill salamander, and those are only place to really have those are in Alabama. It's our state amphibian, but they are an endangered species, and so we're really working to get those delisted. And part of the way to do that is you acquire enough habitat for those in their natural range, that then you have a population of public land and enough of those salamanders there that the Fish and Wildlife Service delists those, and that's very beneficial.
So when you say delist, that means that it takes them off of the endangered species list. Okay.
Takes them off the endangered species list. So right now they're like with timber companies and some of the way that they have to manage their land in areas that is the habitat of that red hill salamander. It limits what property owners can do or how they manage their land. By getting those delisted, it really opens up those lands to better management, and it's really good for not only the salamanders, but it's really good for the public and landowners around the state. And timber is the largest industry in Alabama, and so anything we can do to help those landowners to be able to harvest that timber and manage their land is really good.
Well, because it all affects it's the economic impact of the whole region. So especially, I know in the Alabama Black Belt region, you've got the 3 pillars that support that area. You've got hunting, fishing, and timber, and those are the drivers. So
that's right. And so, one of the things I get to do as commissioner is I'm on the Alabama Black Belt Adventures Board. And so we serve with a great group of people on that board, and I really enjoy that work as well because, the Black Belt makes up 23 counties of our state, and it's kind of in that central region, and the things that are special there are the things that are important to us, hunting and fishing. That's what drives the economy in those areas. And so the way that we can better manage our properties, the way that we can better manage and protect the populations of deer and turkeys and ducks and doves and all the bass fishing and, provide better access in those areas, that means a lot to those economies of those counties. And without that, there's a lot of jobs that people wouldn't have. It would really means so much to those counties. Even though hunting and fishing is big all over the state, it's proportionally bigger in those Black Belt counties.
Right. So some of the projects that your department is overseeing include a boat ramp, for example, in Demopolis. Is that correct?
That's right. One of the initiatives that I've had since I've been commissioner and Governor Ivey's been governor is to provide better access for people, including boating access and land access. So we're spending about somewhere around $66 million in boating access projects over the last 5 years to get people on the waterways. Alabama has more miles of navigable water than any other state.
I thought that was really cool. I want you to say that again.
Sure. So we have more miles of navigable water than any state.
Right.
And so when I looked at all of our boat ramps, we had 145 ramps, but some of them were really small or didn't have enough capacity to host big fishing tournaments and for people to be able to access all those miles of water. And so doing that in places like Demopolis, where on the Black Warrior River and Tombigbee River, they have such great bass fishing and ability to host these national and regional tournaments that get hundreds of people to that part of the state.
And bring in money.
That's right, bring in money. But they didn't have a boat ramp that would host that. And so we were glad to partner with Marengo County and Demopolis and build a brand new boat ramp there in Demopolis with all this, parking for 250 plus boats. And when we first built the ramp and it first opened, the county commissioner from Marengo County or the economic development guy, they would send me drone videos and pictures like every weekend when they hosted a big tournament with a big thank you. We had 250 boats here. Thank you. Every hotel and restaurant was full because we have this tournament, and
that's so cool.
It is so cool to see it, to think what it's going to be like,
right.
But then to actually see it after it's built and to see what it means for those communities is big.
But of course, what you wanted to do was see it in person. You had to look at it on a video in your office.
That's right. But I have had the chance to go over to Demopolis several times since they've opened and hang out with those guys to really, meet with the mayor over there, Woody, who really cares so much about his community. And Jason, the county commissioner, and they're finding more opportunities to do other things over there. We're renovating our Forever Wild field trial area that's
I want to talk to you about that because tell me more about that, because there's a whole season of the field trial season and who it brings in from, and tell me about where those people come from.
So the Forever Wild field trial is about 4,000 acres that we have over in Hale County, just outside of Demopolis, just across the Marengo County line. And it used to be the old state cattle ranch when it was a prison facility where they had catfish ponds and cattle, and that's where they provided that for the prisons in Alabama. And the state Department of Conservation Forever Wild program purchased that, 20 years ago or so, and have turned it into this field trial area. So we host 38 to 40 dog trials there a year. When I say dog trials, these are big retriever events or these certain breeds of dogs. Some of them people on horseback, and you have the tracking dog events, and they need that several thousand acres to be able to put that together. But it is the premier field trial area in the Southeast, and has a great reputation. But our facilities there looked like an old prison facility. And that's what they were.
Which is not welcoming.
It was not welcoming at all. We didn't have places, and when they had these big dog trials, we had an old pavilion that they would give the awards, or we had the old warden's house, where they have some dinners. And I thought we needed facilities commensurate with the dog trial areas. And so we're building a new event center there. We've with a big pavilion, a fireplace, and it's going to be. It is beautiful. And really,
That's going to be amazing.
We're repaving all the roads there. As soon as they get the repaving done, it'll be open for all these dog trials that really start in the fall. But it brings people down not only locally or regionally, but during the winter, we have people that come from Canada that will spend all winter long staying in a hunting camp or in one of these facilities outside of Demopolis, so they can bring their dogs and have them and train here while it's so cold up there. They spend 5 or 6 months here in Alabama,
exactly.
And it's great for kind of an off-season economy for them,
right?
In that part of the state. But really, it's just kind of cool that we're drawing people from other countries to come here and do that.
Exactly.
Just kind of shows how special the property is. Now we'll have facilities that are commensurate with that, and it's going to be even better.
I think that's going to be fantastic. I know you said that during that season you've got, the gas stations they're full, the restaurants are full, and any place to stay is going to be full, and people are coming and staying for the season, and that brings a lot to that region. So that's really cool.
So for the dogs, we're not talking about dogs that you get from the pound or
no.
rescue dogs. These are $20,000 and $30,000 dogs a piece, and so they'll bring a trailer full of $20,000 dogs out there to train.
The dogs sometimes have a nicer place to stay than the humans.
Way nicer.
Yeah.
I said they're the trailers that they have these dogs in,
they're plush.
They sure are. They really are, and the dogs are spectacular to watch.
Oh my gosh, it's a sight to behold. To see a dog doing what a dog was meant to do is a pretty beautiful thing.
This episode is brought to you by Seek Alabama.
Innovate Alabama is the state's first statewide public-private partnership focused on entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. They empower and provide resources for innovators, helping them build businesses, careers, and lives in Alabama. In 2024, Innovate Alabama launched Seek Alabama to showcase the true character of Alabama through moments experienced outdoors, helping innovators, entrepreneurs, and the talent of tomorrow discover the beauty of all Alabama has to offer. Because as we know, one of the best ways to get Alabama is to get outside in Alabama. SeekAlabama.com features an interactive activity map, stories, local guidebooks, and more. All of Innovate Alabama's work helps founders, funders, and talent thrive in Alabama. Whether you're looking for funding, support, or an exciting place to land, Innovate Alabama goes all in to help you succeed. You can visit innovatealabama.org and seekalabama.com to learn more about these exciting resources offered in our state.
Are you passionate about wild places and wildlife, especially our beloved bobwhite quail? Do you enjoy the thrill of the hunt and the beauty of the great outdoors? If so, it's time to join Quail Forever. Quail Forever is dedicated to the conservation of quail habitat. With the support of volunteers and members like you, we're making a difference, 1 acre at a time. By joining Quail Forever, you become a part of a community committed to wildlife habitat conservation and public lands access. You'll also receive our Quail Forever journal and a decal for your vehicle or travel mug. Together, we can ensure future generations experience the joy of quail hunting and the beauty of our natural landscapes. Whether you're an avid hunter, a nature lover, or simply someone who cares about our environment, Quail Forever welcomes you. Visit quailforever.org to learn more and become a member today. That's quailforever.org to be a positive difference for quail today. Working for wildlife since 1935, Alabama Wildlife Federation is the oldest and largest nonprofit conservation organization in Alabama. AWF is dedicated to the promotion of conservation and wise use of our wildlife and natural resources to ensure a high quality of life for future generations of Alabamians. Focused in 3 major areas of conservation, education, resource stewardship, and hunting and angling heritage, there are so many ways you can get involved with AWF today. To join, make a donation, or learn more, visit alabamawildlife.org. That's alabamawildlife.org. Switching gears a little bit, growing up on Dauphin Island, I know the beach is super important to you. And we talked a little bit about fishing tournaments. And I know we talked about, when you and I spoke earlier, about the rodeo that takes place down there. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the rodeo down there?
So the Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo is the largest fishing tournament in the world. I know we got a lot of big things or new things we're talking about, but that really is the largest fishing tournament in the world. And we have it right here in Alabama every July. It's always the 3rd weekend. And so it's a great tournament. You start out with just a bunch of guys from like the Mobile Chamber of Commerce that wanted to have a little fishing event. You know, I think we just had the 92nd annual event. So, you know.
That's amazing. It's almost 100 years old
right.
to have had this tournament.
So it grew from just a few guys that wanted to compete against each other to where now we have over 3,000 anglers a year that participate in this, and with 30 plus categories of fish. And it's, you know, we have great inshore and offshore fishing in Alabama. And so I love the event because it just highlights what great fishing that we're blessed with in Alabama.
And you grew up being a part of the rodeo, right?
I did. I grew up fishing in the rodeo and being a part of that. And so now to see it, you know, on the conservation side has been, it's interesting not just to see the great fish, but we've kind of worked with the rodeo and the Mobile JCs to kind of bring in a lot more conservation mindedness of the tournament. And then also with the University of South Alabama, they do a tremendous amount of research during the tournament because it's a great place with the 30 categories where you're getting some of the biggest specimens of the different types of fish to come in. That gives them a chance to do all this great research and on these different species. And so it's really turned into more than just a fishing event.
Right.
It's really a great conservation and education event as well.
Because what was it that you told me that Alabama is the number one, has the number one greatest biodiversity of aquatic life? Is that correct?
That's right. So, you know, because of all those miles of navigable water, we have, you know, the number 1 in aquatic biodiversity in the country, like number 5 in biodiversity period, which means we got a lot of species, a lot of different species. You know, we have hundreds of species of crawfish. We have a bunch of species of mussels that only are found in Alabama on the freshwater side. But then on the saltwater, we've got, like I said, we've got great inshore with speckled trout and redfish and triple tail, and then offshore with king mackerel and of course red snapper, which is what we're really famous for in Alabama. We have the best artificial reef program anywhere in the world, and then the largest red snapper fishery. And so it's really a special place, and the fishing rodeo down there really highlights that.
That's terrific. That's awesome. And I know that, so you had told me before, there are $228 million that you've got in projects for state parks, and that $76 million of that is for beach restoration. Is that correct?
Close. So
Okay.
we're doing $228 million of renovations in our state parks.
Okay.
And that includes like these cottages that were here at Wind Creek, renovating several loops of the campground here at Wind Creek, moving those up to 50 amp service with full hookups. We just totally renovated the campground at Oak Mountain State Park. We're building a new $28 million lodge at Chehaw State Park, which is the highest point in Alabama. And
Right.
it's going to be spectacular. So on the bluff, looking out over the valley, we're using mass timber construction, as we talked about, the forestry being such a huge industry in our state. And so we're partnering with them to use more wood and mass timber type construction, cross-laminated timbers, to really give that a good mountainy feel.
Alabama feel,
It is. It's
too.
going to be great. And then, we're at Gulf State Park. We've built 20 new lakeside cottages down there. We're building a new campground at Gulf, a new executive campground, and we've got work going on all over the state in our parks.
From
and
top to bottom.
we are, and our staff is really doing a great job. To have that much construction going on at one time has been challenging,
You're
for sure.
spinning a lot of plates all at once.
We are, and so it's nice to, like here, be able to get finished with this project, where now we can cut a ribbon and this can be open to the public, and we have a lot of those projects now that are getting to the finish line. And so if you haven't been to our state parks in a while, I hope that you'll come and enjoy those. Check it out. We've got great campgrounds, the cottages. Like I said, the new hotels. We just renovated the hotel at Lake Point State Park over in Eufaula. Man, those rooms are first class.
All right, that's where I guess I need to go next.
Yeah, those
I
are
got a
so
whole
nice.
list.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so we've got so much of that work going on. So not only is that important in our parks, but we also realize that the beaches really drive a lot of the economy in Alabama. I mean, if you think about people coming from the Midwest and the other southern states, if you come from Kentucky or Tennessee or Ohio or somewhere, you come the whole entire length of the state down to the beaches in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, and you're stopping to buy gas, and you're eating at restaurants, you're spending money all along the way. So those beaches really drive that coastal economy. And so, as you know, if you're going to go to the beach, you got to have sand.
Yes.
And so we have really, and public access sites. And so we've spent about $76 million over the last few years ourselves, and then partnering with Gulf Shores and Orange Beach and some other partners to do beach renourishment, which means we pump sand from offshore onto the beach to be able to have plenty of beachfront property for people to enjoy. And then we've really purchased some property and added access sites for the public on the beaches. As you can imagine, property on the beach is hard to come by.
Exactly.
It's being developed left and right. And so we've had opportunities to purchase, like we purchased the west end of Dauphin Island, which is about 8 miles of beachfront that now belong to the people of the state for access. Mm-hmm. We've purchased on Fort Morgan Road, a place called Gulf Highlands and Beach Club West, about 100 acres of property right there adjacent to the beach club, if you've ever been down to the beach club in Fort Morgan. So we have 100 acres now that belong to the people of Alabama that we're going to manage through our state park system with some managed access there, and that will always belong to the people. And then increasing access at the pavilion at Gulf State Park and at Romar Beach access so that people have places to go to the beach. And it's
awesome.
It's been pretty phenomenal.
Right.
And I'm
you should be proud of all of those accomplishments. I know it takes a great team to do that.
We have a fantastic team of people, like our division directors, and then Ed Poulos, who was our deputy commissioner that just left to go to ADEM to be the director at ADEM. He and I have been here about 8 years together. And when we came in, we kind of had a list of improvements we wanted to make. And it was, to be honest, it was a small list to begin with, but I think as we started to see some successes and saw what we thought we could accomplish with the great staff that we have and working with the legislature and some of these different cities around the state, our small list grew into what most people would say would be an unattainable list. And,
But you got to dream big.
But we do.
Yes.
If you don't take risk and you don't dream big, you don't
Exactly.
you don't see those successes. And
Right.
a lot of times, what happens in government, and just to be honest, is that a lot of government folks are risk averse because you're only there for a certain amount of time, or you're afraid to step out and do something.
Right.
But Governor Ivey has been a fantastic leader. She has let me do what we think we need to do, and I go over and talk to her and her staff about, hey, we want to do these things. They have never once said, I don't think you ought to do that, or that can't be done, or they are always very encouraging. If you can get it done, you
That's
go
great.
for it. You have my backing. And
That's
so
great.
having her leadership to be able to give us the freedom to do these good things has been fantastic, and I appreciate her giving me the chance to be commissioner.
That's awesome. So because it's honestly, and this is something you and I talked about as well, it's not just for the people of Alabama currently, but I know that we see this as a recruiting tool to drive more business to Alabama. And you do that sometimes, or you do that work through Seek Alabama as well. Is that correct?
That's right. So to kind of give a little background, the Governor Ivey, Alabama Power, the legislature, they kind of set up this group called Innovate Alabama to look at all the assets that we had in the state and how we can use those assets, or what we could do to help increase jobs in the tech sector, increase our tech sector opportunities in Alabama, and to recruit and retain talent in our state. So Stanford University, Dr. Condoleezza Rice and her team came in and they surveyed our state, looked at all the different things that we have, and as a Conservation Commissioner, the one thing that came out of it most exciting to me is that we have more woods, water, outdoor recreational opportunities. That can be a differentiator for us in Alabama, and that they didn't think we were taking advantage of that like we should. So when I said we had a small list, when that report came out, I was like, hey, this is our opportunity to use that as a springboard to really do all these other things that we wanted to do to grow the outdoor rec sector in our state, and to use that to attract and retain talent. And so through Innovate Alabama, we've been able to get some funds to do a lot of this work. And it kind of took outdoor recreation from just the folks that like to hunt and fish and bike and hike and swim and boat, those folks. It brought it into the business community, that now the business community sees, if we invest in outdoor recreation, it will help us get better and more employees, and to keep those people here in the state. And so our partnerships now with a lot of the companies around the state have been fantastic, and I appreciate those opportunities. But one of the things that we did was create Seek Alabama, seekalabama.com. It's you can go to that website, because one thing I noticed is that we didn't have a one-stop shop where you could find out about outdoor recreational opportunities. If you were a mountain biker, for instance, you might have to go to 5 different websites to find out about mountain biking in these different communities.
Exactly.
And somebody that's coming from out of state or even in state, that just seems like a lot of work. So I thought if we could create one site that could have an inventory of all those assets, and if you're a mountain biker, you go to seekalabama.com and you can find where all those assets of mountain biking are around the state, or hiking, or boat ramps, all of those
and it's
type
all
things.
on the one site. It's pretty perfect. I took some time and dove into the site, and it's really well done. And I think that's a really awesome achievement, and I'm really glad that that's there.
Well, thank you. So Big Communications out of Birmingham has been our partner on that, and they've done a great job. The site's still in transition because when you look at all of the assets we have in Alabama, the undertaking of getting all of those on one site at one time for the kickoff was just overwhelming.
Right.
And so we had to choose certain recreation types, and so now we're adding back in some new things to it as we move forward to really get it to where we want it to be. And but in Alabama, we do a fantastic job of recruiting students to come to our universities. We have over half of the students at Alabama and about half at Auburn are non-residents.
Wow.
that come to our
I didn't know
state.
it was that high.
So we do a fantastic job of recruiting students.
Yes.
Now we need to do as well a job of keeping those people in Alabama, where they live, work, and raise a family and contribute to our economy. And so we're trying to use outdoor recreation as one of the tools to be able to do that, to show folks we have a low cost of living here. We have a great quality of life. Here are all the outdoor recreational things that you can do when you're not working. This is a great place to be. And so far, I think we've seen some success with that.
So I know that removing some of the barriers to access is a really important part of what you do, and increasing just people being able to try new things. And so what are some of the programs that you have?
Well, I will say this, as a department, most people don't know that we don't get money generally. We don't get money from the general fund of the budget.
Okay.
Most of the things that we do in the Department of Conservation are funded through people's hunting license, fishing license, and the people that stay at our parks.
Okay.
The admissions or the campground revenues and all, that's what funds the Department of Conservation. So with that, it's very important for us to keep people hunting and fishing.
Yes.
Because that's where a lot of our revenue comes from.
Makes sense.
Well, there's a lot of folks that want to hunt or want to fish, but we kind of have a generation of people that maybe didn't get to hunt and fish like some of us did growing up, and we've seen that a lot. And so we've created something called the Outdoor Alabama Academy, where we have these classes like Hunting 101, Fishing 101, Shooting 101, different things like that, so that people that want to do it can have a kind of a low stress way to learn. And so the first, I thought everybody fished. Like, I fished my whole life. Like, who didn't fish? So
I didn't grow up fishing and I didn't grow up hunting, but I sure do. I have fallen in love with it. So I love hearing about this.
So the first class that we opened up for Fishing 101, it was like, well, I hope we get 4 or 5 people that'll come do that. Like who doesn't fish? It filled up in minutes.
Right.
And it's like there was that much interest in it. And so we expanded the number of classes and the way that we do that. We've partnered with Academy Sports and Outdoors and some others to help recruit people into those sports, and to have that enjoyment that we've all come to, spend a whole lifetime of. That people want to do that. And the same thing with hunting. If you didn't have somebody to take you hunting when you were growing up, as you get to be a young adult, it's kind of intimidating now. Like, your people at work, your buddies talk about hunting, or friends at church, but you're kind of scared to ask about it, and but you want to do it. So and
you don't know what you don't know.
That's right. So we've created this adult mentor program, both for hunting and fishing, particularly for hunting, and that has really taken off as well. You have so many young adults that are participating in those classes to learn about hunting, and then using our wildlife management areas, the public hunting lands, and then a lot of them are. We had one guy in particular. He came to one of our events. Got drawn for one of our weekend hunts, came and hunted, had such a great time that he went and bought property.
That's a fantastic
story.
Yeah,
so he had, that's when you get to, as far as youth events, once you get to adult hunting, some of those folks have means to be able to buy the guns and the camo, or like this guy, buy property, and to really get into it and to make that really a lifelong thing. And so we've seen great success with that, and I appreciate our communications and marketing section. Billy Pope is the director there, and Justin Grider with our adult mentor program that are really helping grow that to recruit people to hunt and fish and keep our department growing.
Let's keep doing it.
Yeah, sounds
I love
good.
that. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today. I loved getting to sit down with you. What a beautiful location. And I just wanted to say, I feel really lucky to sit down with you.
Well, thank you. Well, that's pretty cool. That's going to look good in my office.
There you go. Make sure you hang it the right way. I got to hang it up like that.
Hang it up just like this.
Yeah,
all right,
keep all your luck.
Good to know. I need all the luck I can get. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. To become a sponsor or supporter of Afield, email editor@soul-grown.com, or just send us a DM on Instagram. For more throughout the week, follow me and Soul Grown on social media. You can find me on all platforms at Christiana.Roussel, as well as Soul Grown at soulgrown_Alabama. See you next time.